that onto my computer. All right, so careful what you say.
Well, don't worry. I don't use the bad words. I do have a few iffy pictures, though.
Oh,
I don't know. Nikon could be a bad word depending on who's talking.
I know, because I saw Trish posted something to Facebook about taking a waterproof camera in a shower. And then
How much are
yeah,
How much are you wanting to spend, Trish?
hopefully there's clothes involved. I don't want to see without clothes. Shower, shoes, and a waterproof camera. Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All right, back to reality now. Enough of that fantasizing now.
Okay. Travel photography. I mean, talking to this group about travel photography is like leading a dog to a bowl of food. Everybody does it. Everybody does it differently. I don't do very much of it. I take the pictures. My wife does everything else. And the first thing that I have on my list is plan your trip. And as of right now, we are already planning next year's trip. And we're already finding places that are already booked up. So it's kind of hard to make sure that you got to make sure that you get it done ahead of time. And the other thing I always like to try to do is plan for the unexpected, because something is going to happen. And it's like Susie's always upset because she's afraid I'm going to be disappointed. I'm probably going to be disappointed because I didn't get the perfect picture, or I didn't get this picture or that picture, but I got the pictures I wanted, and I got the pictures that I like, which is basically what I want to do. But she says that I don't pay attention to the scenery. I am paying attention to the scenery because I'm taking pictures of it. And the reason that I do take pictures of it is so I can remember it. I can go back and look at it. It's not that I didn't check it out. I mean, I can look through a scene and pretty much pick it all out before I do anything. And it's kind of, you learn to do that over the years. And after 50 years of doing this, I think I figured it out how to do it. But it's kind of really need to know everything. Take all your experiences and put it into one big basket. Because something is not going to happen that you're going to want to happen, and you're not going to get the perfect picture every time. And when you go to some place and you shoot pictures, my rule of thumb back in the days when I was shooting film, you're lucky that you would get 10% of whatever you shoot. And back in those days when I went to Europe, I was shooting 20 and 30 rolls of film on a trip. I'm lucky if I got 10 pictures that I could use. You're going to see some of those tonight. But it's kind of what you're going to do. Now in the digital age, you just keep shooting till you get one you like. But unfortunately, with travel photography, you don't have time. So that's why you plan. And basically, that's all this I really want to talk about is planning. And it's one, you got to know your equipment. And you need to find the right equipment for you to travel with. I used to travel with a suitcase. I have a little suitcase that I carried my camera in. And when we went to Hawaii, that's the first time my baggage went on the plane, in the baggage underneath the plane, and my cameras had to go because normally they're always by my side or over my head. And because of weight, they had to go in the belly of the plane, not inside the cabin. I don't know what the difference is because the plane still weighs the same, but it's kind of scared me. So that was back in my Nikon days, and I had, I don't know, 20 or 30 lenses. I had, 3 bodies and all this other kind of stuff. I put it all together, and I didn't carry everything, but I carried 2 bodies and at least 6 or 7 lenses, along with all the filters and cleaning equipment and everything else. Now I have, because I'm getting older, lightened my load. I switched to Fuji because it's a lighter camera. And I now only go when I travel basically with 2 bodies and 3 lenses. And the only reason to do that is because I can't carry it all anymore because of my neck and my back and a whole bunch of other issues. It has to be light. It has to be quick. I have to be able to get to it fast. So I do all kinds of things differently nowadays. And the hard problem I have now is switching between bodies, even though it's the same manufacturer, they're two different cameras.
Ooh.
So you really need to know your equipment. The menus are actually different. They're similar, but one camera has some functions that the other camera does not. So you need to know which camera has the right functions and which ones you're going to use. I'm in the process right now of getting a new camera. If B&H ever gets it in, okay, I'm buying the new T5, which is a 50 megapixel camera. And with some sort of, I don't know what a stack sensor is, but it's got a stack sensor in it. But it's a whole bunch of other stuff. It's all different. I mean, it's got different batteries. It's a different type of camera. What happened? There I am. I disappeared. So it's what to take on your shoot. You mean you need to go, and one of the things that I found out in my last trip was know the rules. It's not the rules of photography, it's the rules of where you're going to take pictures. A lot of places, I know there are some in San Antonio that you cannot take pictures of. Okay, I got in trouble and almost got thrown into jail by a bicycle cop because I was taking pictures of the smokestacks out at the quarry. And they actually called 3 cops on me for it. I had to leave. But there's no photography. A couple of countries I've been in, there's no photography in certain areas.
How can they
But no
prevent?
tripods in certain areas. You can't block sidewalks. You can't block the streets. There's all these different rules, and different countries have different things to set up. So you have to understand what you're going and what you're doing. And a lot of it has to do with and it's research, and Google be your friend, okay? Because you want to Google photography in certain places. When I was in Vienna, I Googled best places to take photography in Vienna, and it showed me different places to go. Did I go there? No, I didn't, because I didn't have enough time. But when I got to Budapest, I found out all the different places I can go, where I couldn't go, where I can take pictures, where where I can't take pictures. I love taking pictures of churches. Believe it or not, there are some places in churches that you cannot take pictures of, and it's kind of hard to go. Some of these things are very ornate. I went into one church in Slovakia that was the inside of it has no lights. It has windows, but they're hidden windows, so you don't see the light. You don't see the window, and all you see is the light lighting it up. And at nighttime, when they have a midnight mass, okay, they use candles, carry candles around, and it's neat. But the whole cool thing about the whole church is it's all gold on the inside, gold statues, gold ornaments, gold touches, and trying to get pictures is very touchy. So you have to be very sneaky sometimes, and you can get it done, but be careful because you don't want to get caught. But I mean, there's no tripods, no flashes. Flashes. That's why I've grown how to shoot without a flash. Though I'm going to go back to shooting with a flash again because I'm learning that my uh, as I learn more and more and more about noise in cameras, I don't shoot more than ISO 400 because of noise. Without a flash, you can't do that in some areas. So you need a flash. So I'm going to start shooting with a flash again. But you need to find out the rules. And one of the things I found was to go into Google and search for photographers from that area and ask them questions. Susie, she goes into Road Trippers, TripAdvisor, and something else, but she goes to the forums. And she gets online on the forums and starts asking questions of people about photography for me and finding out where to go. That's how I found when I was in Budapest. I found let's say a Hungarian photographer, but he's a Hungarian photographer, but his English is about this big. And I love how the way they talk about photography. It's called photography. I'm not sure because they pronounce it phonetically, so it's photography. But it's kind of cool. But then he showed me around and he took me places I get to see, and he would make suggestions. And this last trip, when we went to Colorado and Utah, we hired photographers to take us around. And it's, and we talk about going out and when's the best time to go take pictures. Well, everybody will tell you go do blue hour and golden hour and also. And I'll tell you what, I don't get up early enough in the morning to do blue hour, and I'm usually tired become golden hour. So I get what I get when I'm out there and it's available to get. If not, I don't go looking for it. I'm finding out as I do more and more work in fine art is that fine art galleries don't like blue skies. And just about every picture I took in Utah and Arizona was blue skies. There's hardly any clouds. I did catch a few clouds once in a while. I went to Bryce Canyon, and I don't know if you've been to Bryce Canyon, but it's a road that goes from one end to the other. And what you do is you go to these little points and you look out these little points, and there's 20 of them. You go to each one and you look out, take pictures or whatever. But so what I decided to do was get up early in the morning, and I went to the very last one, number 20, and I took a sunset picture. And I got a few clouds. It was kind of or sunrise picture, I'm sorry. And I got a few clouds and some pink in the clouds, and it was kind of pretty. I said, okay, I'm ready to go. So I packed in the car, went to the next stop, which is less than a mile away. And I got out, and there wasn't not one cloud in the sky. They were gone. No clouds the rest of the day. So it's luck. It really is. And it's kind of hard to do. And, it's trying to go through and take a picture, making sure you get it, in the rule of thirds and all the different rules of foreground, middle ground, and background, and trying to figure out what do I have to do and how you get framing and you get all this stuff running through your head. It kind of gets confusing. So I just throw that all out and I don't try to remember the rules. I just take the picture. I figure I'll straighten it out post processing, and that's usually what I do, because I always shoot the crop, and I know I'm going to crop the edges. So if I want in the middle, I'm going to get as close to the middle subject as I can with the longest lens I can, and then I'll crop out everything else in the background. So that's the key thing about landscape photography is how much is too much, how much is too little. You don't know. So I try to get what I can in camera, and if I can't, then I fix it later. I mean, you really need to know your camera. You got to know the. I mean, I don't know how many times you can sit there and listen to the ISO settings and the aperture settings and the shutter speed settings. The triangle, how to remember the triangle and get it all to work. I don't have time to think about that as I'm traveling, because I'm traveling and I'm going from this spot to that spot to this spot. And Susie's always telling me, if you see a spot you want to take a picture, tell me. And she's really good about it. She'll stop, or she'll turn around and actually go back and let me take the picture. But when we were in Colorado, we were going through the prettiest portion of Colorado. That's Independence Pass. And this is gorgeous, except it was freaking pouring down rain the whole time. And so what pictures I have is through the windows between the windshield wipers. And you kind of fix what you can. So you take the pictures that you can. Or I sit there and I tell her to slow down and I roll down the window and I hold my camera back and I'll take a picture through the window to get something. And it's kind of hard to do when you have weather. And that's when I said you always want to try to plan for the unexpected things that's going to interrupt your supposed plan for photography, because our whole trip to in Colorado was ruined because of the hurricane on the East Coast. Believe it or not. The hurricane on the East Coast blocked the weather going through Colorado. So it rained from day 1 to day 15.
Wow.
We had one good day at the very end. It was still cloudy, but it was still no rain. And when we got up to Telluride, it snowed. So it was kind of like, it's not anything you're going to be able to handle and get a hold of. But so it's travel photography is a lot of fun. I love it because it involves all kinds of things. It involves portraits, it involves landscape, it involves macro, just about every form of photography. I love black and white, so I do a lot of black and white. I have to have a black and white app on my phone. That's what I use. I actually use my phone for framing as well. If I'm in a spot and I don't know what I want to look at, I use my phone. I look at the picture through the phone and I see this is what I got, and I'll go around and I'll move around. You got to move, and you sit there and you'll see a picture. Oh, that's cool. What it looks like over here. That's cool. I'll pick the best one. Well, I take a picture in each place with my phone, look at it, then I pull out my camera and I take the picture. I can edit it on my phone and it comes out pretty good. But if you want to print it, phone pictures are not the best to print. So, but I use it. It's great for framing. It's great. I mean, if you try to find something, it's perfect. Planning your shots. Trying to plan your shots on traveling is easy if you have time. And generally, if you're going from place to place, I mean, this last time we were 30 days on the road. And luckily, the last 4 days got canceled because of Susie got COVID. But we had that whole time in Colorado and Utah and Arizona. And the only place in New Mexico we went was Sedona. That's where she got COVID. So, but it was a fun trip. Everything was planned, everything was lined out, everything was structured. We spent 4 days here, we spent 4 days there. We went to the different places, looked around, and with the exception of while we were in Colorado, when it rained most of the time, we had a good trip. And I didn't shoot as many pictures as I normally do. I mean, the most pictures I've ever shot is when I went to Alaska in 2012. I shot almost 5,000 pictures in 2 weeks. We spent 4 weeks traveling through the States. I shot 2,000 pictures. So I consider myself, I'm either getting better or I'm getting more picky as to what I take pictures of. So trying to plan your shot is not easy. One of the things I like to look at is with the Fuji, I can switch back and forth between black and white and color. And I can either do slides and all this other kind of stuff. I don't know about the other cameras, but I know Fuji. So I'll do a black and white and I'll do a color. And I've only recently learned how to import my black and whites into Lightroom. For some reason, there's a little checkbox in the program that you have to click to say show raw files and JPEGs together. And I didn't have that little box checked. But I could do that and shoot all these different modes. Sometimes I take the black and white, and sometimes I take the color. And sometimes I take a color and convert to black and white. So it's just what you want to do. I mean, I shoot in manual mode pretty much all the time. I might shoot with auto white balance. I might shoot with auto ISO, but I'm finding that with auto ISO, I'm getting some very high noise. So I'm going to take off and stop using auto ISO and just use auto white balance, because the auto white balance is easy enough to adjust in Lightroom. So it can do it that way. But not only do you have to know your camera, you have to know the triangle. The triangle is critical in travel photography. You have to know what your aperture, your ISO, and your shutter speed all combined together will equal something. And generally, if you have a meter, the meter will tell you when you got it correct. If it doesn't quite look right, you adjust one of the three, but you still got to keep that meter balanced. Now, I shoot a little overexposed. And the reason I do that is so I can get better blacks when I do my processing. So just about everything slightly underexposed. Then I can adjust my blacks to bring up the blacks and get the blacks and adjust the whites to take down the whites. But it gives you a little bit better balance. Everybody has their own opinion on how they do that. I forgot there was a rule at one point in time, shoot to the right. And another one says, oh no, you got to shoot to the left. But I never really understood that is because it's different on every camera. I have my Canon, which I don't use anymore. I still have my Nikon, both are film. Both meters are different. My Fuji, the meter's even more different. So when you shoot to the right, which camera are you talking about? When you shoot to the left, which camera are you talking about? I shoot underexposed by about half to whole stop underexposed. And so it gives me, the images look dark on the computer, but I can adjust that in Lightroom and bring it out. That's why you shoot raw. And if you don't shoot raw and you're doing travel, you need to start. JPEGs work, yes, but you don't have the functionality in JPEGs that you do in RAW. You get better color. A lot of the cameras right now today, some of the lenses are stabilized. Now, I have both stabilized lenses and stabilized cameras. The problem is that when you're using a tripod, make sure you turn the stabilization off. Because I found that when I was using the tripod in Monument Valley, I didn't turn off my stabilization. So a lot of my pictures were blurry. And I tried to figure out why they're blurry. Well, I don't know if you know anything about how stabilization works, but stabilization works by adjusting the camera against shake, or the lenses against shake. So even if you're on a tripod, it's still trying to adjust the camera. And what's it doing? It's making your camera shake. It gives you a blurry photo. So I now have a special menu in my back of my Fuji that says turn off my compensation, and not only in the lens, but also in the camera. Because this new T5 that's coming in has got the best stabilization supposedly that it made for cameras now. And I have 3 stabilized lenses. So I have to be able to turn them all off and remember to do that. I didn't do that when we went out to do Christmas lights on the river. It screwed up a bunch of my pictures. So I had to go back and try to fix them with the greatest gift to a photographer is Topaz denoise and Topaz
Sharpen.
And I like Gigapixel too. It works really good. But those 2 programs I use a lot to try to fix the noise. And I learned a little bit from my buddy Serge. I forgot what his last name is. Romani. Yeah, he's a French dude. Talks really, really fast. Shoots really, really. He's got some good photography. He sits there and he talks about how to set all this stuff up and get it all done and make sure you get it right. And he started talking about noise, and that's where I learned about fine art galleries do not like noise. They don't like dust spots. And I found a new way in Lightroom to find dust spots, which is kind of cool. So I do a lot of, in fact, since I retired, I live on YouTube, but it's just, I learned so much from YouTube. All these different photographers I follow, different Photoshop techniques, using different software, some like this, some like that. I mean, it is total confusion out there, all the different softwares, and they all do the same thing. So it doesn't matter which software you use, they all work about the same. They all have a basic adjustment, they all have white and balance, they all have color balance, they all have highlights, and they get shadows and whites and blacks, and so it's just different sliders, different way laid out differently. And when I went from on one to Lightroom, I found there was things I could do in on one I can't do in Lightroom, but there's a lot of things in Lightroom I can't do in on one. So I still use on one. So I don't, I still own it, and but I don't have a login, and I can't get it updated or something. It doesn't work. Some of the stuff doesn't work if you don't have a login. But and it's like the whole thing about taking pictures out there in the wild, includes nature, macro, black and whites, color, multicolored, whatever you're doing, even cinema. It's all the same. It all works the same. It all works for your equipment. All I carry now is I carry two bodies, of which one body is now in the mail going to B&H. But I carry two bodies and three lenses. I have a 35 millimeter 1.8. That's for my night shots. It's a great lens. I love it. And Robert likes his too, but I think he likes his Viltrox better sometimes. But then I have a 60 to 80. That's my go-to lens. That's what I carry around. My 16 to 80 is gives me my wide angle, gives me my little bit of telephoto when I want to, for zooming in on stuff. The other one is I don't have, but that's equivalent is a 24 to 70, and I think a 24 to 70 is Nikon and Canon and Sony and a whole bunch of other. They all shoot the 24 to 70, which is like the 16 to 80. So I think the 16 to 80 is a 24 to 105 or something like that, equivalent. And then I have a 70 to 300. My 70 to 300 gets me out there. And then I have a doubler to attach to that in case I need it. So I carried those three lenses and two bodies for this whole trip this last time. That's all I carried. I do have my 100 to 400 that I use for birds, but I wasn't taking any pictures of birds this time. I was doing mountains, so I didn't take it. I didn't even see any. I did see some buckhorns in Utah, but they were jumping the road and jumping the fences, and I didn't. They was gone before I could see them, and it was kind of neat to see them in person. I've never really seen any in person, so it's kind of cool. But that's basically what I try to do when I try to get out there and go. And I mean, it's just like research. Two key things. I don't know if anybody research, and the other one is my favorite person in the whole world, Henny Youngman. I don't know how many of you know who Henny Youngman is. How do you get to Carnegie Hall? Practice, practice, practice. And that's what you got to do. You got to go out and practice. I mean, it's just kind of, you need to find yourself. You need to go out and take pictures. Don't try to copy somebody else. You need to be unique. You need to be your own person. You need what I learned to say, find your own voice. Speak your own photography. Everybody in this group has a style. And therefore, as a judge, I can sit there and I can tell you when I look at a picture whose picture it is without even listening to the name, because I know your style. I know the type of pictures you take. I know the style and the color and the arrangement and the lighting and all that. You can tell just by looking at it. I can, whose picture it is. So, I mean, you can sit there, if it's a bear picture, it's got to be Jack's. He's the only one that does bears. Because I think he stopped doing bears a lot because we know that. But it's trying to be unique, and I'm getting into the fine art business is not easy. So, but what I'm going to do now is I'm going to share my screen. And how much time I got left, Peter?
You can have as much time as you want. It was just a suggestion.
Yeah.
I'll show you some quick pictures. So
I'm not going to pull the plug on you or anything. You just Go.
This is America.
And we were
It's
just saying.
America. It's America.
That's great.
This is America.
All right, let's see what you got.
Well, see if I can get this to work. I don't, these hotkeys aren't working. Probably that. I don't know if you guys can see this or not.
Yeah.
There you go.
This is my attempt to show you where I've been.
I've been
So-
everywhere, man. You have been everywhere, John.
Much. I mean, I've been in every state in the United States. When the doctor blessed me with being clear from cancer, Susie took me to my last state, which was Hawaii, and we went to all of them. So, and that was probably the best trip I've ever had. So it's cool. But I have been all over the United States. I've been through most of the bigger countries. I don't think England's on here. I've been all through England. It might be that. That might be England right there, but and then going down through here, and I've been in India, and I've been in Italy, and been in Greece and Saudi Arabia. Down here, this is it's in Kenya. It's a safari park in Kenya. There in 1980.
South Africa.
No, see, it's South Africa. Sorry, it is South Africa. What's the name of that place anyway? I don't remember. But Singapore, Hong Kong, Manila. I went to Osaka, and there's a couple of Air Force bases in Japan. I've been there, and then of course, I went to New Zealand a couple of years ago. Trying to get back to New Zealand again, but airfare is not going down; it's actually gone up. So it is not conducive to getting me anywhere. So what I've done is I've kind of broken down to quickly show some stuff going back to my film days. Let's see. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. This is in Abu Dhabi. Now, it doesn't look like Abu Dhabi because this was 40 years ago. I was in a hotel in Abu Dhabi, and this is one of the traffic circles that's outside the hotel. Now, Abu Dhabi now is a big tourist trap. And 40 years ago, there was hardly nothing there. Most of these buildings are all started to go up and are either empty or never finished. So from what I understand, they went through and tore most of them down and built all new buildings. So it's just kind of a neat little place. But back in those days, you would never convince me to go back. This is all on film. This is one of my first portrait sessions with my sister, who's now 60 something. This is my baby sister. One of my first pictures of her. This is in England. And I found this little boathouse to be kind of interesting. And most of these are all off of slides, and the slides were discolored. So I had to go through and do some color. Epson has a software that goes along with their scanners to try to anticipate and fix the colors. So if they look a little oversaturated, it's probably because it's the Epson software that did it. This is in Stockholm. This is one of the tall ships that was in New York in 1976 for the 100th or 200, 300th anniversary of 1776. So of all the tall ships that go through, they actually have two of them. It took one, and when it looks like sunset and sunrise, they were both taken at the same time, just different filters. This is an old German World War I cannon. I found this sucker up in the hills in Wisconsin, of all places.
Hmm.
And it's kind of, it doesn't shoot anymore, but these chains that you see down front are roughly 3 feet long, a foot and a half wide, and they're 4 inches in diameter. So they're pretty heavy. So think of carrying the chain and moving the cannon around to different sites during a war. And that would be kind of, and I found out later what the chain was for, and that's to hold the cannon down because the cannon moves when it fires. Um, it's kind of neat. Oh, here's the other tall ship in Sweden. This is it's called a souk in Abu Dhabi, and it is basically shopping center. Pretty sneaky shopping center, as a matter of fact. One thing you find out about over there, they don't believe in toilets. So, and when I was there, we built the city of Ruwais, and this is a picture that I took at sunrise of the water towers that we built on top of this plateau. Now, I used a red filter to try to make the sky. This was back in the day when you used filters to make colors, but it's kind of cool. It's pretty all different now. The place is all built up. I ran into a guy when I was working for the government. I did a test on a water system spec, and I talked to this guy that worked in a building over by Papados, and his parents lived in Ruwais, and he showed me a bunch of pictures of the city now, and it's like any other coastal city. You know, lots of palm trees, lots of tourists. It's kind of weird. This is a changing of the guard in Copenhagen. This is one of my black and whites. There's the color version. There's another of the changing. There's the color version.
I think I like the monochrome better, John.
Do what?
I think I like that monochrome better than the color. They look really nice.
Like the color?
Yeah, I mean on both your pictures of the guard there, the monochrome looks.
Oh
really
yeah,
nice.
it's the color ones these were the ones that basically were done, you know, Epson color corrected. I forgot what they call it, ice. And, the colors. It doesn't do very well with skin. So I thought it would be better as black and white. And by the way, you probably noticed none of these are in order. This is a library in, I believe, Stockholm. I actually took this from a boat in the water in the river. This is the picture I took at the 10th anniversary of Disney World. I have pictures, well, back in those days, this was in 1976 timeframe. I actually had pictures that I took at this anniversary that ended up as postcards in Disney World. That was one of my first sales. How much money did I make? I don't know. Not enough. This is the hotel I stayed in Ruwais. This is the Ramada de Hafra. They built this hotel right on the coast for just us. And it's 100 and some rooms, had a hot and cold running maids, actually houseboys. We had a German chef and a Dutch pastry chef. I don't remember all of them, but anyway, there was 10 of us in this hotel. And they built the Abu Dhabi National Oil Company built it just for us. As far as I know, it's still standing. You can still see it when you look at it on Google Earth. So This is in Scotland. All these are all on slides, of course. So this is just my film, but this is a view of a ruins of. I don't know if I should go back. If I had it and it didn't come up, the titles, you can't see it. No, it's not there. These are all my Epson scans. This is Blair Castle in Scotland. The cool thing about Blair Castle is that the stairs in Blair Castle are, damn it, go away. There's huge staircases that go all the way up. It's a tourist attraction now. Most of the castles in Scotland are now either hotels or just for tourists to go walk through. The rails, I don't know if I have a picture in this group or not, but the rails in this castle on the staircases that go up are Norwell horns. Now it's now illegal to cut Norwell horns off, but because they're the unicorn of the sea type deal. But it's just so cool. I'd never seen one before, and they had them all over this castle inside. Scotland was kind of a cool place. And if you'd ever see any pictures of Scotland, you look at the sky. That's what the sky looks like in Scotland. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I think I was there for 2 weeks, and I saw the sun once and a blue sky twice. So the rest of the time, it was just all cloudy. This is somewhere, I think this is in St. Augustine in Florida. Now, I was telling you guys of the little bridge that I had in last month's photo contest that I took, and we were in Amsterdam. And I told you I had one of it from way back. This is it. This is in 1980. And this is back in the days when, I don't remember what type of film I was using, but everything came out yellow. So it just kind of gives you the strange feeling. But now it's all different colors and then muted. And I had sunset in the picture and all this kind of stuff. No boats going through it, but there's other stuff. This is a picture of some of my fraternity brothers during a parade in Florida and Illinois. That's the color version. The color render didn't come out very well, so I thought it did better as a black and white. Not too many of those. I think you've seen this one before. This is the Iranian protest in Stockholm or Oslo. This is in Oslo, Norway. That basically this is after the fall of the Shah in Iran, and they're trying to get the Ayatollah back in power. This is what it was all about. I got out of there real quick. I didn't want to get shot or killed or nothing, but. And this picture is one of my favorite pictures. This one I took in Amsterdam as well. It's actually the same bridge. There's actually 3 bridges here. And you can tell by the way the reflections in the water. The first bridge is basically the curve at the top, and the second bridge is the curve in the middle, and you can see the line of lights in the back one. Back there, this picture actually hangs. What's the name of this place? Got my plaque over there. I can't read it in the dark, but it hangs in a museum in New York. And this picture was from 1980, and it's a color slide, and it's using a prism as a filter. So thus you get the colors from the lights. It was kind of a cool shot. I really liked it. Elan Castle in Scotland. This is, which bridge is this? Not the London Bridge. This is, Steve, you've been to England, haven't you?
I was trying to think of it. I
Can't
can't think of it, John. I can't think of the name of that bridge, but I walked
It's
across.
Tower Bridge, is it?
The Parliament building? Is it the Parliament building?
No, the Tower
Yeah, that's
Bridge.
Parliament and the tower that has Big Ben in it there.
Yeah.
No, this
Queen
is Big
Elizabeth
Ben, but it's not next to, I forgot the name of it, but this picture I actually took with my old Yashica matte camera. And it came out square, of course, but I made it rectangular. This is my very first ever 35 millimeter color film picture from 1971. Taken in Carbondale, just outside of my dorm room when I was at college. I got rid of my little bitty camera and I bought myself a Konica DSLR. And I lost it somewhere in a canoe on a river, on the White River. Scotland again. My sisters. This is has won a couple of awards from. Has been copied many, many times. This is actually St. Andrews of St. Augustine Lighthouse. It was closed when I was there, so I decided to shoot it straight up the lighthouse and got this silhouette, and I really liked that. So it worked out really nice. This is in Stockholm. Now, this picture has appeared in several magazines. I did take them, but a lot of people have taken it. I actually saw it someplace when I went to Stockholm. This is the Torg, which is basically a mall. It's big indoor-outdoor mall in Stockholm. And as usual, I see the church in the background with the scaffolding, so it doesn't change any. But I just thought it was kind of pretty.
Yeah.
It's kind of unique. Got the traffic going around. Several people, like I said, have taken this picture. I don't know where it's probably gotten used by some people. Who knows?
You got a really nice
But,
sky. That's huge, John.
Yeah, I can't even pronounce them. Sergel's Torg at night. So it's kind of a cool lit up thing. In my digital world, I'm gonna go through. This is one of my pictures I just finished working on the other day. This was actually in Newport, Rhode Island. It's one of the little sailing bays. I have a couple versions of this. One's got people on one side and one doesn't, but I figured I'm gonna start alphabetically real quick. We'll go to Alaska. This is Denali or Mount McKinley, whatever you want to call it. And we were there for a week. And this is the only day we actually saw the mountain. And we were leaving. This is taken from the highway. Highway 3 as we were leaving Denali National Park. This picture hangs in the University of Alaska Art Gallery. Well, it did. I don't know if it's still there or not. And one of the things is everybody knows that one of my things and one of my pictures that I have on my entrance picture to this stupid program is Waldo. This is where Waldo started. This is where Waldo became famous, is on Highway 3 in Alaska. And I don't have the picture because Susie has it. And I never got it from her, but she took a picture of me. We were coming down out of Denali on a bus headed towards Seward to get on a boat. And everybody got off the bus to go out and take a picture of the mountain. And it is just exciting that I was standing there and Dookie took a picture of everybody off the bus. I think there was like 50 or 60 people. And we, of course, were the rowdy group. We were in the back. So we were the last ones off. And I was out roaming around. And so Susie made a comment in a picture that she posted on Facebook, says, "Find Waldo." And to this day, I am still known as Waldo. And she still posts Waldo pictures. And what she does is she takes a picture of me taking a picture. And she calls, "There's Waldo." Well, she is now Mrs. Waldo because I do that same thing to her. But I am now putting together a book of about 150 pictures, Waldo pictures. And next to it will be the picture that I took. And I'm going to make a book out of it, a tabletop book. Just for, I don't know. You always sit there and you look at it and see, this is what she took. And I've been asked, well, what picture were you taking? And I have to go try to find it. So This is one of the pictures I took, but it's kind of cool. But Alaska is a cool place. This is the Alaskan train from we flew into Anchorage, got on a train, and we took a train to Denali. And of course, we went through several stops on the way. But this was the first picture outside of Anchorage of the Alaskan range across the tundra, and it was just I thought it was just kind of cool. Now the sky is not real because I put the sky in to try to mimic the conditions because it was just it was just clouds. The clouds you see over here to the left, those are the clouds that were there. But it was just I think it's cool. I spent the whole trip standing on the platform outside the car. It was 40 some degrees. And I rode the whole trip. I did this twice in this trip, once to Denali and once into the Yukon. I'll show you that one in a minute. But that was the sky. That was the sky that I replaced. So another picture of train. These are from my nephew. I took pictures of trains. This is after we got on the boat and we were leaving Seward and headed up into Glacier Bay. I thought the fog on the water was kind of neat in the sky. Not really one of my better pictures, but I just liked it. This is one of the lighthouses along the coast. I don't know. Never really learned a lot of this different stuff, but it was. I left the titles up here on the side so you can kind of see, 1/25th of a second, ISO 400 at f13. And this is my 18-300. This is a Nikon. So that's the DSE of the Nikon. The eagles nesting in. We saw a lot of eagles. This is Hubbard Glacier. Not very big anymore. But the whole key thing about Hubbard Glacier was this. This is Hubbard Waterfall. Now, Hubbard Waterfall is very cool because you have to look really, really close. Oops, get it to work. Trying to get to zoom. Not very clear, but it's can't drink and do this at the same time. You look at the bottom of the waterfall and you see how much the water is falling, and it's really cool. But what you don't notice is see the people right here. That's how big that waterfall is. So, this is 135 millimeter, and this is just the bottom of it. It actually goes up the side of this mountain quite a ways, but it's pretty big waterfall, biggest one I've ever seen anyway, outside of Niagara. This is my other train. Now, this was the train up into the Yukon in Canada. Now, did you see the lady standing outside here on the front car? Well, I'm in 3 cars back. I'm doing exactly the same thing. I stood out there for the whole 8-hour trip.
It must have been cold.
And let me tell you, it was cold. But I went there to take pictures. I didn't go there to ride in a train. I've ridden in a train before. I want to see the train going in the mountains and going through tunnels and going across bridges. And I have lots of those. But this is just one of my favorites. And that, by the way, that is the sky. So I did not replace this guys. Let's see, is that the last one of those? Yeah. Next A on the list is Arizona. This is kind of a different picture. This is actually a cactus. This is a saguaro cactus, and this is girl flowers. And I took a picture of it in 2 different things. I took it during the day and I took it at night with the moon. I think it didn't look right with the moon. And I see I still got a spot right there I take out. But the clouds I thought was kind of cool. But then I added stars. I don't know why I did it. I wish I had now because I don't think I have the other picture that without the stars. So I got to go back and recreate it, but it was just definitely different. This is at Luke Air Force Base in Phoenix. And the last time we were in Sedona, which is just a little while back, we were up where I took this picture was from the airport where we landed. And I found out I had always called this sunset in Sedona. Well, it's not. This is actually sunrise. I got to looking at this and I'm going, I asked the guy that took us up there, I says, what direction is that? He says, oh, that's east. And I said, oops. I've been telling everybody it's sunset. It's not a sunrise in Sedona from the airport lookout. Now this picture right here, I don't know if nobody's seen this one. You've seen its companion piece. I took this picture in Arizona at the Secret Antelope Canyon. And when I say you have to look at different ways and you have to move around to take pictures, I don't know if it's an extra or not, but yeah, it is. This is the first picture I took. And I thought it was kind of cool. I thought it was kind of pretty. And I figured I'd see it, but you see it's really, really noisy. It's ISO 3200. I ran this thing through denoise twice. That still wouldn't get it out. So I had problems with it. But I decided that would do something different. I wanted to look at it a different way. So I rotated my camera and I moved to the right about 2 steps. And that's where this picture came from. This was actually taken with my phone. This is when I was on my way out and I stopped doing it and I looked at it and I said, that would be kind of cool. Now, with the new iPhones, what is kind of strange is you get weird streaks with the new iPhones, and I'm not sure why. But the streak actually falls somewhere along the lines of the, I don't know if you guys can see my mouse or not, in this little V area up here coming off of this. And I blended it in, but then I got the star. And I thought that was just so cool. I really like this picture. It's probably one of my favorite pictures from Arizona. I guess you guys liked it too because you gave it a first place in one of the contests, but it's just cool. But this picture is taken in Tempe, Arizona. This is with my Nikon. But I taken a picture of this bridge along Tempe Lake, and I thought it was kind of cool. I thought the lights underneath was shining on it and everything. And I'm trying to get the moon right balance for the thing. So what I ended up doing was taking 2 pictures. I took a picture of the bridge and I took another picture and I focused on the moon to get the moon. And you see it up there, it says 1/500th of a second at f8 ISO 400. Well, this was, and I don't know if that's actually the first picture, not the combined picture. This is a combo composite of 2 images. And as I was shooting the moon, I heard a train coming. So after I took the picture of the moon, I decided to wait and take it again, only this time when the train got there. And as you can see the train. You can actually see the line of the train going by, the lights, of course, shining as the train goes by. And when I combine the 2 images, this is what I got. And again, it's one of my favorite pictures. I still use this a lot. And this is, by the way, is slides. This is chrome slide. And it's actually 2 slides sandwiched together and processed separately. I don't know if you've ever done sandwich slides or not before, but it's kind of interesting to play with. Let's see. Come on, we go to the last one in Arizona. Probably. No. Colorado. We'll go quick. This is the most I have. I think is in Colorado. Colorado was beautiful. I mean, it's just once you got up in the mountains and you got past, went to Hotchkiss, which is on the other side of the mountain of the Great Divide. And we were driving around back up in the mountains, going back to different things, and took different little side trips over to Black Canyon, and then we went down to Telluride and a few other places. But to see the mountains and the trees, I just didn't. This is in it's kind of out of order. This is one of those pictures that is. I took this on purpose. It's kind of a strange picture, but anyway, when I look at different things and I see things. I don't know if you've ever looked at different. There's a name for if you look at a cloud and you see something in a cloud. If you see a face or see a bird or see a dog or a cat, whatever. I see faces. I see different angles. I see different things in different places. I saw a cow on the side of the mountain in Monument Valley. And I asked our guide, I says, anybody ever point out the cow on the side of the mountain right there? And he said he looked at it. And he says, I don't know how many times I have been to this spot. I've never seen that cow. And it was actually a cow. I mean, it looked just like a cow. And it actually looked like a cow lifting his leg and peeing on the side of the hill. But it was kind of fun. The reason I took this picture was because I love color. And the color got me. And then I started thinking about, well, the shape of this building matches the mountain behind it. So I lined it up so I could do to get the angle of the mountain and the angle of the building. Anyway, that's just how that came about. But I just like the colors. Very colorful place. And everybody, purples and oranges and blues. And if anybody's been there, you've really seen it. This was also in one of them up there. It's not Uray. What's the other one?
Children.
Yeah, that's it. This is a fence to a little building on the inside, and I think this was the brewery. And it's all made out of skis. So I just thought it was kind of interesting. The colors and this and all that just made it. Yeah. But they have really good beer there. I really like this picture because it's got a yellow bicycle up against a purple building, and they're pink rims. I have never seen a bicycle with pink rims. Now, this has got to be a girl's bike because it has a basket and it's got the little scoop and it's got a polka dot seat. So it's got to be a girl's bike. But I just thought it was kind of cool, just leaning against the side of this building. All the colors, because I love colors. This is riding the train. When we got up to Silverton, we actually took the bus up to Silverton and then went back on the train. And then once again, John is hanging out the side of the train, or I'm in the very back on the platform car. I don't remember which one of these was. If you're back in the platform car, you get it pelted with cinders. So I don't go there. When we were in Durango, we actually stayed outside of town in this little B&B place. We were coming back one afternoon, and these elk were walking across, and we finally stopped. They started running, but then we stopped and waited, and they came around the edge of this shed and walked over the side. So I got a picture of the shed and the elk in the background. And I wish there'd been more snow, but the next day it snowed and it snowed and snowed. So it was a very pretty area. And this is in the Indian Ruins, the national park.
Mesa
outside
Verde.
of Durango.
Mesa Verde?
Yeah, that's it. Mesa Verde. Mesa Verde. I don't have my hat, so I can't tell you. Have to look at my hat to remember the name of it. No, everybody else that I was with on that day, they actually took the tour. And I said, no, John's knees don't work that well because you have to walk from the top down to here and then climb up. And I said, no, I'm not doing that. As my knees attest, I now walk with a cane. So next time you see me, I'll probably use it. This is 0486. This is a train coming back into Durango the next day because we went out to shoot this picture of this train. I got several pictures of it crossing. This is a Great Sand Dune National Park. The round trip, we were on our way to Colorado Springs from here. And I don't know if you can see, but at the very top, the people. I mean, that's how high this thing is. And they actually go up there and they use boards and cardboard and whatever to slide down. Well, come to find out this day, because of the way the wind was blowing, everybody was on the other side. So there wasn't any sliding on this side. There's a couple people over here, but there's about 100 people on the other side of this hill. All of them are up there sliding. The problem with you slide down on this thing is you have to walk back up to slide down again. I said, there's no escalator, so I'm not going. This is the ceiling of the chapel at the Air Force Academy, which I think is probably, I think it's actually an ugly building, but the inside is very spectacular. I love the inside of this building. It's all lit from these skylights, all the different patterns. So, but it's an amazing building. It's just the colors on the inside of it all and trying to get it to match. That's one of the things is trying to match colors. When a lot of this is, see the skylights causing the blue, but then the others down at the bottom, those are all the yellowish colors coming through. And you got a few other colors pitching through. So you have to try to do your color balance is not easy. I don't remember how I did it, but it took me a while before I finally got it done. But again, I was shooting very high ISO, and so it's gotten very noisy. So I have to go through and do some noise reduction on it. This is with my 50 millimeter on my Fuji. It's the outside. I thought it was kind of interesting because they have the planes on the outside. Everybody always takes pictures from the far right side where you see the building with the little platforms on the other side. Everybody always takes that picture over there looking back on the chapel. I wanted something different. So I walked around the entire chapel trying to find a spot to take pictures. And I ended up taking this picture of the trees and the plains along with the chapel. I really liked it better. This is going into Colorado, and it's called the Wall, and it's actually a town, and it's a wall of rock. And all the rock that you see around there is all sandstone. And the sandstone that you see in Colorado and Utah and Arizona all extend into Texas because it's all part of the cap rock. If you've ever been through up into the Panhandle, you have to climb the cap rock. And I lived in Lubbock for a long time, and I went back and forth on the cap rock all the time to visit relatives. So, but it's all sandstone. And you get down below the cap rock into the canyons, it's still the same way. And you start looking at the different formations and different light and the different colors, they all look the same. So it didn't change any. But I thought this one was kind of neat because this is at the end of the wall that they had to tear out to run this road through it. And they built this little cabin right there. And right across the street is a ranch. So, it's just the same. It's all cattle country anyway. But this is the Royal Gorge Bridge. Back when I was younger, you could drive across this. I remember stopping out in the middle and taking a picture looking down. Now you got to go out there and the line's ridiculous. You have to walk, and I didn't want to walk that far. So we found a spot up on the hill where you could see it, and I took a picture. There you go, Royal Gorge. Now this is Independence Pass. Independence Pass is probably one of the prettiest roads I've been on. I think it's even prettier than going through the Blue Ridge Parkway. I mean, the Blue Ridge Parkway is really pretty, but this is just the aspen trees, the yellow, orange, and green of the aspen leaves is fantastic. And like I said, it was raining, so I didn't get out very much. But it was so pretty. And it all looks the same. I mean, once you see one picture, you kind of see them all, but it's like you see a tree. And then we ran into this ghost town, which I never really figured out uh, what made it a ghost town, but I guess because the people used to live there. Somebody lives in this one over here on the left-hand side. It's locked up. I think that's where the caretaker is. But way in the back there is the hotel. I didn't go in it. I walked up to it, but I didn't go in it. And then there's the one in the middle right here, in the middle with the flat front. That's the bar. Part of the bar is still there. The sign is still on the inside. And then I got into some kind of bush. I don't know what kind of bush it was, but let me tell you, I was covered with these stickers. They're not like goat heads. They're more like wheat fronds, wheat seeds, except they're very sharp and very stiff. And they were all in my socks and my pants and my shirt. And I don't know how to get into them because there's a building to my left right here that I actually went around the backside so I could shoot through it. I don't think I have that picture, but it's just really cool.
John Rowdy says you got yourself wrapped up in some Russian thistle.
You know what it was?
Oh, it's not just tumbleweed.
I don't know. I don't know. Boy, I tell you what, it hurt. It
Yeah.
stung.
Yeah, it does.
This is maroon bells. Now, of course, it was raining and it wasn't clear. But I think the best picture I've ever seen maroon bells is Brian took. And people actually get there like 4 o'clock in the morning and walk down here to this lake just to take the picture of the sunrise when it comes up and shines on the top of this mountain right here. And the picture that Brian got is really pretty. So, but of course it was cloudy, it was raining, so I didn't do it. I spent more time at this spot trying to teach a couple how to use their camera. They had a brand new SX10 Fuji. Didn't know how to use it. And he's out there with his umbrella and his rain hood all over his camera, all that, and it's got the same lens I got. And I said, "Do you know this camera is waterproof?" He says, "It is." And so he put his umbrella away, took the rain hood off the camera. I said, "It's not totally waterproof, but it is moisture resistant and it's sealed. So you don't really need all that stuff to take pictures." And then I proceeded to spend about 45 minutes to an hour teaching him how to use the camera. Meanwhile, Susie's at the top of the hill waiting on me, wondering where the hell I am. I'm always working with somebody with cameras. It's kind of cool. But it's a very pretty place. If you ever get to go there, it's really pretty. And the thing about I always tell people is when you're taking pictures of one way, turn around and see what's behind you. This is behind me. When I took this picture, I looked at it and I saw the clouds up the top and the pretty trees. I said, I wonder what's back behind me. So I turned around and these clouds had settled down into this little valley right here across the top of these hills. And I thought it was just cool. So I snapped that picture. But I tell a lot of people when you take a picture of a sunset, turn around because it's usually prettier on the other side. I think anyway. This is a stream that's just down the road from where we were staying. So we stopped on this bridge and I took this picture. I thought I lost my wallet here, but I didn't. Thank God. This is going into Telluride. This is I think this is number two lift. There's actually 3 lifts or 4 lifts to get to the top. We only did 3 of them, but it's just looking back on the city of Telluride. It was just cool. Now, this is an aspen tree. Everybody thinks aspens are yellow, but actually they're orange. They turn yellow first, then they turn orange. Actually, green, turn yellow, then orange, something like that. But I think they're very pretty leaves. I thought they were kind of cool. This is at the Hot Springs Hotel or Resort in starts with an H. Anyway, but I need to put the titles on all my pictures, but it's just kind of I shot this with my phone. We were eating breakfast. It's a very famous mountain. Everybody climbs it and goes up there skiing on the other side of it. But they had this is where I saw my first sphinx moth was actually on these flowers right here in front of me. And I got a picture of it. But I never knew what it was until I got home. I had to look it up. That's just Archie shot from yellow and green on a bark aspen. Now, this is a coke oven. I don't know if anybody knows about coke. It's not coke, the stuff you sniff. It's not coke you drink. This is coke that's made with coal. And what they do is they basically heat coal to a high temperature and burn off all the carbon. And then they take all that and then put it in another oven. This is one side of the oven. This is the side. And it generates enough heat to generate steam, which comes from the pipe at the top. Okay. On the other side are all these. I did not know that coal was such a big thing in Colorado, especially in this area. This is coal country here. And these are all coke ovens. There's actually 123 of them. And they take the burned off carbon out of the other one, they put it in here, and they raise the temperature to about 2,000 some degrees and burn all the moisture and the rest of the residuals out of the coal until you have a stone. And that stone is called coke. And coke is what's used in blast furnaces. Blast furnaces are what melts steel. At the end of the Terminator, you saw him go down in the molten steel. That's all burnt, but it's all coke. That's what. And so it's the hottest burning material on Earth besides the sun, or not. The sun's not on Earth, but it's kind of as hot as the sun. But they're just really cool, and so I'm not too sure of the total process. I did some reading on it and on the internet, but this is the inside of the oven. When it gets so hot and the residuals start to burn off, it coats the inside of the oven. Now, this thing is like 12 foot in diameter and at least 10 foot high. And it's full, and they use it. And then this is all coated after many, many years of being used. They don't do it anymore. I don't know where they do it, but they don't do it in Colorado anymore. They still mine coal there, but it's high sulfur coal. So they don't do it. That's kind of cool. You know, this is another road. This picture I took on the road going to Telluride. I have a feeling I don't know what I'm going to do with this picture yet. I don't like the sky, but I might change it. This is the first. No, this is the first level. I've been out of order. This is the first level of the ride out of Telluride up the side of the mountain. So at the bottom is going up. Okay. But yep, that's all that one. We'll go through some of these real quick. These are like some of my old pictures. This is the East Coast. These are all, we were in New England, New Hampshire, Maine, in the fall. These were all these were taken. And we went up there for the Covered Bridge Festival. And never go up there for the Covered Bridge Festival or go up there over a holiday weekend. It is bumper to bumper people. And we were there for 2 weeks, but we only spent 2 days with big crowds. So we decided to go up to the side of the mountain. We climbed White Mountain. So, New York City, I think y'all have seen this one. One of my entries. Fort Sumter. The cannons of Fort Sumter. Now this is enhanced somewhat because the colors weren't quite this loud, but this was at sunset on the coast of Maine. I thought it was kind of cool that you had this house sitting up here and the sun was shining on the house. I basically played with the colors and the luminance and saturation and vibrance of the colors to make them stand out and make them pop. I think I overdid it, but I still like the picture. Portland Point Lighthouse. This is a resort we went to. I don't know where it is, but they had this water fire thing going off into classical music. I think this one right here was to the William Tell Overture, so it was kind of cool. Not the only, I got several pictures of it, but I think this is probably the best one. This is one of the ones I actually did right. I had a tripod and I was at ISO 100, so this is a fairly decent shot, fairly sharp. This is the mighty fountain of youth. We don't need to see it, but that's it. If you want to know where it is, there it is. My trip to Washington, D.C. We made lots of trips to Washington, D.C., but this one, I kind of played with this one. I used one of Peter's tricks with the water reflections. They weren't quite as sharp and colorful as they were in the water, but you play with it a little bit and do some adjustments and flip and flop and copy and paste, and it turns out really cool. I think that's all of those. Europe. Oh, here's the gold church. This is the church I was telling you about. There are no lights in this church. There are only hidden, recessed lights. You can see the light in the back. This is the church St. George. This is actually in a monastery, and right across outside the front door to the right is a brewery. So, and they make pretzels and beer, and they really, really good. But inside this church was this is a vertical 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 shot HDR. I got the bottom layer real good. The ladies came out fine. The next one did okay. And that top was great. Luckily, I got the first layer fine, and the ladies came out clear. There's a couple one lady walked by, she's not visible. There's another lady sitting over here on the side that's not visible. Another lady that's over here on the side that's not visible because they moved too much while they're taking the shots. But anyway, this is that church. And I mean, it is just, they go in there at nighttime with candles, especially around Christmas time. So it's just very neat. And that's in somewhere. I'll find out somewhere where these places are. This, of course, is in Budapest. This is the white, the lady. This is the Mother Bridge. This is Mother Bridge. And I did it in black and white because it is a white bridge, of all things. And it was totally black. There was nothing in the sky, no lights, no nothing. So I just did it in black and white. It came out very well. This is one of my favorite black and whites from that trip. And I've already put it up on I sold one off my website 2 months ago. It was only 8x10. So, but anyway, it's better than nothing. This is the Parliament building in Budapest. I'm not sure which side's Buda, which side's Pest, but I think that's Buda over there. This is Pest over here. This is taken from the Fisherman's Bastion. There's the Parliament building there. And let's see, you can't see our boat. Our boat, I think, is right in front of this building, right here in the front. The church is right here. That's the Chain Bridge, also in Budapest. I took my little Hungarian guide took me down these places. So a different view, different angle. This is in Amsterdam. This is one of the lookout towers. It's just down a ways from the little bridge that I showed earlier. This actually should be in the film section, but it's not. these are all over Amsterdam. And basically they are watchtowers to watch for Vikings. I don't know if anybody's been to Amsterdam. I know Trish has, and might be somebody else been there, but it's a lot of canals, and it's on the North Sea. So, and it's the all the Scandinavians and stuff, and the Norway is just across the water a bit. So, and the Vikings would come in. So these are Viking watchtowers. Right now they're bell towers. I don't know what they use them for or anything else, but they're just kind of cool. There's a little bridge again. This is in South Africa. God, what is the name of that place?
Well, you can
Okay.
put your head back down on the ramp. That looked really comfortable.
And I am all over the place on this one, isn't I? South Africa,
like
baboon. And there's a little baby down here at the bottom. I don't know if you see that or not. The baby's riding on on her belly. Amsterdam. Back to that one. I got a lot of duplicates in here. Let's go to Hawaii. One thing about taking tours, especially photographic tours, you get to go to places other people don't go to. This was actually a film set that we got into. The set they had closed down for the day. The guard was still sitting out front in his little car. This is where the second Jumanji was filmed. And if you remember the part about had the hippo comes out and eats the professor. Okay, this is where it happened right here. And then later on in the movie, they're running through the jungle and they jump across this waterfall. So that was just something to be there. They were all excited about it, the fact that they were filming there. And the problem of it is right outside this place is parking lot. And if you look at the ground, there's glass all over the place. And one of the things they have really bad in Hawaii, especially out in the boonies, is people breaking into cars. And they bust the windows out and go in, find what they can, and take them and leave. There's glass all over the place. So this is one of the pictures I took of along the coast. I was actually laying on the ground when I took this. This is to the right-hand side right here is Diamond Head. So this is right below Diamond Head. Some of my little night shots. This is my high ISO stuff. This is, again, with my Nikon. But dancers at our luau. Let's have my face turned on. We took a dinner cruise along the coast, and they took us out here. There was a trimaran. So, and it, we ate, and as we were coming around, they used the motor to get out to here because we were fighting the wind. And then we got around the corner, they raised the sails, and we sailed down the coast here. So that's the sister boat that we were on. Now, we were on the dinner boat. This is the non-dinner boat. This is the boat that goes out to do the sunset cruises. Waimea Canyon. This is my last picture before leaving Hawaii. These torches in the sunset. I just thought it was cool that I framed it with a torch, but nobody else likes it, so I don't care. And this is out in Pearl Harbor. The oil slicks. I always thought that the boat was a lot further underwater, but it's not. It's right there. So in fact, I think that's one of the smokestacks. So they were actually they still take sailors from this era of who were on the Midway who die now. I think there's not any left anymore. I think they're all gone now. But when we were there, they were actually taking one down to the boat in an urn. Thought that was kind of cool. Vegas, just 4 pictures of Vegas. This is taken from the stratosphere? No.
Attention seekers. Before the merriment of commencement commences,
I don't know.
that your years will
This is inside the Bellagio. Inside the Bellagio. This is during Christmas time. We were there at Christmas time and thought it was kind of cool. They had the all the flowers and the decorations for Christmas. I just liked it. It's pretty. One of my favorite places. A lot of people take pictures of the Ferris wheel. I always look for something different. This is actually one of the bubbles going through the bottom. It just got done loaded and headed out, or it's unloading. I'm not sure which. I guess it's unloading, and then getting ready to go up. This as from the bottom. I actually went down below it and shot up. So. Middle East, you already saw that one. There's still parks. Arches. Got this guy climbing this thing, and saw him getting ready to go and climbing it. He's more of his little friends are down here at the bottom getting ready to go up. And then while we were down the road ways, turned around and took a picture back, and they were on top of it. So I don't know if you can see him up there. Park Avenue. Just a really cool place. I'm not sure. I think this is the backside of the double arch, but I'm not sure. Oh, there they are. My little climber dudes. I don't know the arches. This is my first time there. I took what pictures I could and we left. The windows. Now, the only way I could get to the windows and see the windows without having to ruin my knees and my ankles was to take this picture with a 400 millimeter lens from a mile away. So that's why there's no information up there, because it was a long way off. Bryce Canyon. I told you the story about the clouds in Bryce Canyon. Here's with the very end lookout in Bryce Canyon at sunrise. The clouds are pretty, all that kind of stuff. You go down to the next one, there ain't no clouds. But it's very pretty. This is the first place I learned about hoodoos. I have pictures of hoodoos, but it's just kind of neat how these things are formed and how long they take. If you think about arches, now this is back near the beginning again when I went and picked up Susie and took her back out again. But still no clouds. Clouds went away. And this picture right here is everybody takes this picture, I guess. It's just I got mine with the aspen tree in it. It's one of the arches. There's 2, I think 3 arches in Bryce Canyon that you can actually see from the road. This is one of them. Monument Valley. The Sacred Eye. This is inside some of these places. I don't know if people have been here or not, because if you don't pay the Navajo, you don't get to go see these. And this is actually back in the back of the auditorium, which is where they have a lot of their powwows and things. And it's kind of like in this hole is as big as the Hollywood Bowl. You know, I found this old tree. Thought it was kind of cool. We got this one. There's the sacred eye again, but we got this picture. This was actually taken with a fisheye lens. My guide was kind of interested. He was very interested in my fisheye for some reason. He had never shot with one. He's a photographer, but he had never shot with a fisheye before. So he was playing with it and he was looking at different things. He said, take this shot. So I took this shot and I took it again the second time. That's when I got the star. But it's into that. You can see the hole at the very top of there. That's the sacred eye. This is the auditorium. Now, this is bigger than a Hollywood Bowl. And I'm standing on the side shooting up and showing out the front. This is taken with my 8mm fisheye. The acoustics in this place are fantastic. And everybody knows John, when John gets on the ground, John can't get up. Well, guess what I did in here? I got on the ground. They have the back wall of this is sloped. And the reason it's sloped, it was cut that way to turn it into seating. So it's like theater seating. It's sloped, and it's so that you could go at the top and sit down, and then the people will sit in front of you, and you can always see over the top of the next person. And then they would have somebody would be out front talking or playing music, and our guide would actually go over. He was sitting over here on the side playing a flute, playing Native American flute, playing the music. And it was very cool to sit there and listen. And I think it took 3 people to get me up off that slope fall. But anyway, that's my story.
Hey, John.
I'm going back. Yes.
I wanted to let you know, it's 9:25 and I don't know how much more you have, but I would love to ask a few questions. So.
Yeah, let me zip through these real quick. I think I'm almost done anyway.
Okay.
I have to leave out Yosemite, Zion, New Zealand, Texas, Utah, West Coast, East Coast. No, anyway, I'll quit. Got questions?
I do. I
I don't
think,
have answers.
well, I bet
Which
you
one?
probably do. I mean, I would love to hear you because you really have been everywhere. You've been to pretty much, it seems like most of the continents. You've been all over the US. And I've done a little bit of traveling myself, nothing as extensive as yours, but I think that travel photography is different everywhere you go. I think there are things you have to keep in mind. Can you talk a little bit about your approach to the way you think about what you're shooting when you're in the US, in a national park and that kind of scenic thing, as opposed to a city or maybe a foreign city? I mean, do you have different mindsets? Do you think about different gear, not just based on how much you have to carry, but what you're shooting, where you're carrying it, things like that? Can you talk a little bit about those differences in the
It all goes
US or
back to
being
what I
somewhere
said.
else?
It all goes back to what I said at the very beginning. It's called planning. You need to do, if you're going someplace, especially in Europe, if you're going someplace in Europe, you got to plan it. Because, like I said, there's many different rules. And you're going to see so many things you don't know. Let's say I went to Nuremberg. Okay. Nuremberg's a good example. Which do you see? The new side or the old side? Do you want to see what the Nazis destroyed, or do you want to see what the Nazis or the Germans rebuilt? And that's the whole idea, is try to decide what you want to do. I'm a history buff, so I wanted to go see the old side. So all my research was on the old side. I wanted to see the buildings that were destroyed. I went to a school that is on a bridge that crosses over the river, and it was bombed and of course destroyed. and it was rebuilt differently. Now there's only half of it there, half of the bridge. The rest of it is the water still goes through under the bridge, under the school, but it also goes around it. So that's what I want to see. We went into tunnels. If you go into some of the tunnels, go into some of the castles, and see where they were, where they shot from, where they're looking at. I mean, the lookout points that's historical. It's what do you want to check out? I like looking at ruins. I like looking at historical stuff. I like looking for I like looking at architecture because I'm an architect. I also look for engineering marvels because I'm an engineer. So I have an idea what I want to take a picture of before I even get there. And if whatever I find after the fact is gravy. Okay. It's you really have to plan what you're going to do, and you need to talk to people that's been there before. I mean, I learned more from about arches by talking to Peter before I got there. I wanted to see what it was. I can't remember what anything is. I used to carry a notebook around with me, and if I took a picture of something, I wrote down what it was. I did that through 7 trays of slides. I have a journal that's about inch thick of every picture I took written in that book. Now, the only problem of it is the slides got out of order and is no longer in the same order as the book, so I have no clue what some of this is. So I stopped writing down in books what it is, unless there's something I want to remind. A lot of times what I do is I take a picture with my phone because my phone has a GPS. And with the GPS, I can coordinate on Google Maps where I was. Okay. And I can get the names of places. And there's a lot of history. So we take a lot of tours. Now, they're not fast tours. One of the things we do in the US is we take duck tours. I don't know if you've ever been on a duck tour or not. The kids like the duck whistles I bring back for them because they make all kinds of noises with them. But duck tour is one of those boats, one of the buses that goes in water. It's a boat. And they take you around town and you get to see things. You get to go take pictures, and it's easy to take pictures from inside because it's all open. It's an open boat, open bus. It's a boat. Or you take hop on and off buses. Hop on and off buses we take everywhere. You get to a town and you're going to be there for 3 days. Take 1 day, get on a hop on and off, and take the entire tour with the bus from start to finish till it gets back where you started from. And write down and take your map and mark every place you want to go and what you want to see. Okay. There's a lot of places when we were in Boston, I didn't get back to because, I got a picture of Cheers on the outside, but I didn't get one from the inside. Okay. We went by it, but I didn't get go back to it. So it is just what you want to do is plan. I mean, that's all there is to it. I have no real qualms. We were walking around Vienna, and I said, I want to go to Mozart's place, musician, the museum. So we ended up at this place. We went into some place and finally found somebody who spoke English that could tell us where it is. It just happened to be across the street. So we went in there and turned out it's not the museum. It is a museum, but it's not Mozart Museum. It's Mozart's house. That's where he lived. His museum is in his apartment downtown. That's where he stayed, okay, in downtown Vienna. He didn't stay there. So you have to find out what you're going to have some idea of what you're going to do when you get there. As far as equipment goes, whatever you want to take. I take interior, exterior, close up, dark, light, and it turns out to me it's 2 cameras and 3 lenses. I have my long lens on one camera and my short lens on another. So, and I have a cotton carrier, and I carry one camera right here, and I carry the other camera right here. And I pull it out. How come I can't see me? My lights went off.
Nice.
My lights burned
There
out.
you are.
Anyway,
There.
So
Now you can see me?
Yeah, now
You
we
see all
can
his
see
hand
it.
gestures?
You know, it's interesting, John, because everybody travels differently. And I bet if we were to
Yes.
go around the room and ask everyone how they travel, it would
Mhm.
be totally different.
Oh, yeah.
I
Oh, yeah.
hate planning. I never plan a trip. I get a general idea of where I want to go, and then I just wing it. And my favorite thing is to just wander around with my camera and be surprised. Do I miss a lot of
Yes.
things? I miss almost everything. Sometimes I go to a place and the 1 block over was this great event, but it's just
Okay,
it's
I will
just
say one
not
thing.
me. Mhm.
You're not married to the right person, or not married to the wrong person. I'm not sure which, because one, I'm married to a planner. Okay. I'm married to a lady who's been for 40 years bossing people around. Okay. And then she plans everything. Everything's on spreadsheets. They know because I sent them copies of my spreadsheet from our trip, this last trip. And she has them all.
You know, I think it's
And as
interesting.
far as roaming around, Susie doesn't roam. Susie likes to know where she's going and when she's getting back. So
What's that, Trish?
it's like she goes into a store. She only goes into a store to buy something. She goes in, buys it, and leaves. She don't stay there and shop. I'm a shopper. I'm a roamer. I like to go in and roam around. I like to sit out and watch the people go by.
Well,
Okay.
I mean, and
No,
that's
no.
that's the great thing about it. Everybody gets to do it in their own
Yeah.
way.
In the wrong
And
way. I know.
it's great to hear. You know, I'm amazed that people are so organized and plan so well. I think it's admirable, but you know, I mean, I'm 75 years old. I'm certainly not going to change at this point and become and become organized in a planner. And you know, fortunately, my wife is kind of the same way. We're kind of squatters. You know, we go to a place, we spend 2 weeks in the place, we go to the same bakery, we go up the street, you know, it just kind of evolves. You know, John Steinbeck said in Travels with Charlie, you don't take a trip takes you. And as soon as you learn to do that and relax, you have you have a
You
good
have a lot
time.
more time. You have more fun. Yeah.
So
You really do.
there's,
You said
you know, what were you going to say, Trish?
I was just gonna say, you know, at the beginning, you know, John had mentioned that, you know, we've seen each other's stuff enough that we often know who took what. And what's interesting about that, and he also mentioned that everybody here has done some level of travel photography, even if it's just down to Fredericksburg, you know. But what's neat about that is that all of us kind of approach it a little bit differently. Some of us, when we travel, we're more of kind of a sights photographer. Some of us get a little more of the flavor of the people and the place itself. It's really interesting to me. I've in my own travel photography, depending on where I'm going, whether it's city or it's someplace like a national park, it's really different. When I'm in a national park, it's kind of sights oriented. But when I'm in a city, I'm finding that my focus is changing, that I'm photographing the sights, no two ways about it, but I'm really trying to get the flavor of where I'm going. And that comes a little more from getting away from the sights, or at least the obvious sights, and catching a little more of the everyday stuff. And that all of that falls under that umbrella of travel photography. And I love that it's different for all of us. And one thing I've noticed when I've traveled is I have been places where I have approached what I'm doing and it doesn't really work in certain places, sometimes because of the culture. There are some cultures where you can't easily stand on the street and photograph people without really being careful and talking to them because of religious beliefs or other things. You've got to be really, really careful. And so it's just one of those things that I'm learning by accident, usually pretty painfully, because somebody comes running out and going, stop, stop, stop. And they're really upset and that kind of thing, because they just didn't take the time to understand the culture. So, I mean, that's just one thing I would say that I've learned recently, that it's John's idea of researching and planning. That's the kind of planning that's important to me. How do I how do I approach what I'm shooting and the people I'm dealing with? Because it's going to be different everywhere you go. They all have different, you know.
Yeah, and you can get in trouble
Oh, I have
photographing people,
gone. Yeah,
and especially
yeah,
in Europe. Okay,
yeah.
because a lot of people do not like to have their picture taken.
Mhm. Yeah.
And you get into the old communist countries like
Or
Slovakia and
Muslim countries, same
okay,
thing. A lot
Hungary,
of them.
all those places they're very shy.
Mhm.
They don't like, I actually saw a couple of people, actually, believe it or not, I actually stopped and asked the guy if I could take his picture because he was so cool. He had this bushy hair and a huge beard and this big curved pipe out of his mouth and smoke coming out. And he looked the perfect portrait. Can I take your picture? Oh, no. Turned around, walked off.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's just it's the way some people look at us because that's why I don't do a lot of street photography and I do it from 9 miles away because I'm not like Robert. I don't go up and talk to people and say, "Hey, can I take your picture?" Because more than likely they're going to say no, and I'm going to get disappointed because I didn't get that picture. And I was very disappointed I didn't get that guy's picture. And can I get disappointed? Yeah. And it's the problem of it is we try to do too much in one trip. And that's why this last time we decided to go and spend more time. We spent a week in Colorado. We spent a week in Utah. We spent almost a week and a half in Arizona. Okay. Because we never spend long enough time in one spot to see the different things. So we decided we were going to hit all the national parks in Utah. And we did. A couple of them we just kind of went through and it said that wasn't much to see. Okay. You go through like Canyonlands, you're done. One little drive, you're done. You go down a couple little side roads, it all looks the same. The only difference is some of it's radioactive. You know, you gotta go, that's where you go in Utah because there's lots of radioactive material still floating around in Utah. Especially in the Canyonlands is one. They got signs all over the place that say, "Don't go here because it's radioactive." In Arches, just outside of Arches, they're actually digging up. I don't know how big it's huge. It's probably I say it's probably a good square mile. Digging up all the dirt and hauling it away because it's radioactive dirt. That's where there was a dump site there, radioactive dump site that they're trying to get rid of, right outside of Arches. So it is, and I want to take pictures of it, but there's signs posted all over the place, no photography. But it's, yeah, without research, you don't know. And you need to find out. And there's all many different things and talk to people. That's what Susie spends more time on than I do. I mean, this last trip, when we went to New Zealand the first time, she spent almost 2 years researching New Zealand. We knew exactly where we would go and what day we were going to be where. Okay. Until the very end when the prime minister said, everybody out, we had to leave. Okay. We still had 2 more weeks to go in New Zealand and we didn't get there. And now we can't go back because it's too damn expensive. It is without research. Yes, I know a lot of people don't like research. Before I got married, I was one of those travelers. I hopped on a plane. I flew into Scotland. I spent 5 days driving around Scotland, playing golf and drinking scotch. Okay. I spent 2 weeks in England driving around, drinking beer and taking pictures. I spent I don't know how many days in the Netherlands and Sweden and Norway, all those different places. I wasn't married. And when I got married, my first wife, she was like me. So we went all kinds of places. We did all kinds of stuff together. And when she died, I kind of got lost. I didn't go anywhere. I stopped. I quit. I actually quit photography for 2 years. But
We've talked about this a lot about taking your significant other when you travel and how it changes the whole thing. If you're not with a photographer, it makes the whole trip differently. And you're right. If you're with your wife or somebody that you love, you have to relax and go. I mean, they have to be a part of the trip too. It can't be just you getting up at 4 a.m. and waking them up and everything. And that's kind of why I prefer to do it both ways. I love traveling with my wife, but I love traveling without her too, because it's a totally different thing. So when I went to Maine and I wanted to photograph lighthouses, that was it. I knew nothing about where they were or what they were or anything. I went to Portland.
Yeah.
I rented a car, and I knew the lighthouses had to be on the coast. So I drove up the coast, and oh, there's a sign for a lighthouse. I'm going to go over there. I could never have done that with my wife, sleeping in the back of an SUV, and stuff. So, but I do love traveling with her, but like we've all talked about, it changes the whole trip when you've got
Well, yeah, getting older changes it too. I mean,
Oh, yeah,
I mean, we've talked
Oh, yeah.
times about Susie likes 4-star tents. Okay,
Yeah.
so we don't camp.
Yeah, I'm not sleeping in a tent anymore either.
Yeah, I mean, it's
And I
just
would
going traveling is so much fun, and seeing different things and meeting different people. That I mean, when we were on took the Danube cruise, we went from Amsterdam to Budapest in 15 days. Let me tell you, there was only 100 people on that boat. We knew every one of them, and I was out there with photographers. It was nothing but photographers. This one guy had 3 cameras, one on his neck and one on each hip. Okay, and he was
Speaking
on
of
my
that-
table.
Jack.
speaking of that, I mean,
No, he didn't
I
have. He didn't have a batteries like
I
Jack
haven't
did.
been shooting very long, but what got me interested in picking up a camera was really travel. I mean, going off somewhere with my kids or my family, and I want to take pictures of this or that and the other. What I've discovered is I built my whole system of gear around travel photography. I didn't really plan that, but I mean, that's what I did because I wanted something light for travel. So it's kind of interesting how it's worked out branching out into other kinds of photography, but that has been really important to me to have gear that I can travel with easily, that is small and compact and not too heavy, and I don't have to worry about too much excess weight, with me when I'm traveling, and
Yeah.
I can easily throw it all in one bag that I carry in my backpack and I'm done. And I think that's it's kind of interesting how it's really sort of it's been my foundation for anything that I buy gear
It
wise.
makes all the difference in the world, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does it. It does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, Jack, you travel for huge, 3 months, 4 months at a time. How do you plan your trips?
Well, I learned something different from my last trip to Alaska. Oh, and I've learned some things from meeting up with you and Kim, because you were talking about some of the things that you do. And anyway, one thing I learned this last trip to Alaska, I thought, gee, what if this is my last trip? I never get to go again. Pandemic didn't let me go the 2 previous summers. So I thought, let me do some things out of my comfort zone and, maybe even spend a little extra money. God, I didn't realize how much money I would spend with gasoline and the inflation everywhere all around the world. But I'm still happy I did it all. But one thing I learned is I thought, I'd like to take the ferry, and I'd like to go over to these places in Alaska that, you can't get to without a plane or a boat. So I checked into the Haynes ferry system, but it seemed like every time I go over there, they weren't open. So I really couldn't. And then I saw this sign on the door. It kind of looked like the schedule was very limited. So I thought, oh gosh, maybe this is just not going to work out. I won't be able to do anything. But finally, when I got in that door and actually talked to the lady and explained it all to her why I wanted to do this, she looked and looked and looked, and she said, now, if you are willing, I can't get you to Sitka and Ketchikan, but I can get you to Ketchikan, and then I can get you down to British Columbia and, some other things. But you have to stay a whole week in Ketchikan. And I thought to myself, because I'm not used to that, see? I'm not like Kim, but it's great to do that. You go and you plan a whole couple of weeks or a month or 2 in one location. I found out how wonderful that really, really is. But I'm so anxious to get to Alaska, and I've got my favorite national parks to get to, and I don't like being bored. So I hate stopping in between some place, you know. I'll do it occasionally. Like I'll stay in Butte, Montana, and for me, Butte, Montana is not the most photographic place, you know, I like to be, but it's a nice place to just take a break, you know. But anyway, having to spend a whole week in Ketchikan was wonderful. And when it was all over, I almost wished I had a few more days. It's amazing how much you can go find and how much fun you can have and how many different people you can meet and all the different kinds of experiences. Me camping in Walmart for the very first time was weird and scary at a lot of times, but I got through all of that too. But then we've also, John mentioned, you're already trying to plan ahead. I'm a big planner too, especially on a long road trip to Alaska and back. But I get a general guideline about what I'm going to do, and then it all depends on what's going on. You know, how's the weather today, and you know, did I learn something new? Maybe I should go do this. It changes my plans. But finding out that you have to make a reservation far in advance to when you would like to be there, I hate that. I really hate it. I like to be able to go where I want, when I want to go, and leave when I want to leave. And I struggle with that sometimes. Sometimes I leave places faster than I really want or should. I was in Yosemite years ago, and I just want to go down to the village to get a bag of ice. But I circled around that parking lot, I can't tell you how many times, before I finally gave up and got so frustrated. I just said, forget Yosemite. I'm heading for Alaska. I moved on. Then later, when I thought about it, I thought, well, that's not very smart. You should have just found a trail that not very many folks are on and hike up that trail and get away from all those folks. And who needs that bag of ice anyway, you know? So travel is fun, and I like doing it by myself because I can do the things I want to do when I want to and how I want to, and take all the time I want. People always ask me, where's your wife? Why isn't she with you? And I always explain, she doesn't like to go to San Angelo, which is a 3.5 hour drive to see her mother. Let's think about this. An 18,000-mile road trip, me stopping for 3 or 4 hours to take pictures of one bear, not going to work for her. So she's happy to see me go. And while I'm gone, the family does a lot of stuff that maybe I wouldn't do. And they have a good time without me. So it works out really good.
Well, maybe I ought to start doing that. Get away from my wife and start going places by myself.
I like what Peter
Interesting.
said, though. He kind of, and Kim allows this. She lets him go off with photographers part of the time, and they enjoy each other's company and spend time together other times. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah,
that's
that
wonderful.
sounds like we need to plan more photography trips.
I think we need to.
Group,
Some
the
of us
group I'm
need
in, the
to
sharing
every once in a while.
photography group. I'm in the sharing photography group. We do that. We used to do it. We don't do it. We haven't done it in a while. We used to just pack up. We'd all go someplace. And about 8 or 9 of us, we went to Yosemite. We went to Monterey. We've been to San Antonio, Big Bend. It's just all of us. When you're out with photographers, it's definitely a totally different story. I mean, that was the one thing I did when I went down the Rhine on the riverboat, was that I was with most of the people were photographers. In fact, the people I spent most of the time with were all photographers, and we all roamed around towns together, taking pictures. It was a lot of fun, and the fact that there are different places. There were South Africans and Europeans and English and Australians, and they were all together, and we all, believe it or not, a photographer is a photographer. We all shoot the same way, no matter who we are or where we're from. So we all take pictures.
It's nice to have those folks
But,
to talk to, too. We learn a lot from each other.
We do.
Yeah.
We do.
And I mean, my tips on travel photography are my tips. That's how I travel. That's how I shoot. So I'm not trying to tell you how to change your, I'm just trying to give you some ideas of what to look at and what to look for. And the biggest thing is change. I mean, I had all these plans for places to go in Colorado to take pictures, and one of them was a very famous one, and I couldn't get there because of the road got washed out because of all the rain. They wouldn't even take an ATV up there.
That's a really important point, I think, when you're doing travel photography, really any photography, but especially travel, because you've taken the time to get up and go away, and you may not get back there. It can be really hard to deal with the idea that things don't work out sometimes, and you have to move on. And you kind of have to build that into a trip, because it's
Hi,
going to
Robert.
happen somewhere along the line, if not in every trip. Good night, Robert.
Good night, Robert.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it
not
is.
in
It
every
is.
trip,
It
in
is.
some trip, you know, you're
Well,
gonna have.
you know, I would say we were just talking about this the other day. My worst trips are my best memories, where everything
yeah.
runs smoothly and runs like clockwork. Yeah, I mean, you know, it's great. But things where, you know, just horrendous things happen. Those are my best stories and my best memories
Mhm.
of it, you know. And here I am. I'm still alive, and I got through it. And you know, so I don't know. That's
Yeah,
just
you
me.
gotta roll with it, that's for
I
sure.
think
You
it,
have two choices, right? Roll with it or don't. And if you roll
Right.
with it, you're right, you kind of, you look back on that, and time and space gives you a chance to kind of laugh about it a little bit, and you're right, it's always where the best stories come from, is where the
Yeah.
catastrophe.
It's tough when you're going through it, though.
Oh, yeah, it's rough, no lie, but that's the stuff you remember, that's for sure. Yeah.
All right. We probably need to wrap it up.
Yeah, yeah.
Thanks,
before it's 10
John.
o'clock. Thank you, John, for the
Thanks,
time.
Thank you,
Jenny.
John.
Your,
No problem.
presentation, I really appreciate it.
I enjoyed it. Too bad we didn't get to all my really good pictures.
Yeah.
Planning,
You had a lot of
John,
pictures.
planning.
Planning, I know. Well, I had too many pictures. I only had 120. Come on.
Yeah.
Only
Do that real quick.
120. That's a lot.
I just went through my pictures today. I downloaded into Lightroom, and I went into Lightroom and I looked, and it said I have 238,393 pictures in Lightroom.
I saw that.
That's crazy.
So that's one or two, and that's only 1, 2, 3 of my drives. I still have 4 more drives to go.
Just a quick reminder, we have print competition on the 15th.
Yep.
Not on the
Yes.
15th. Is it the 15th?
I don't know.
Yeah,
Two
yeah,
Thursdays from
something like
now.
that.
2
Two
Thursdays.
Thursdays from now.
It's the 19th.
19th? Yeah,
19th.
Mhm.
At Digital Pro Labs at 7:30, print.
Right.
And it's assignment month, and the assignment is shoot from below.
Shoot from below. And we're going to meet for dinner
Oh, yeah, at the.
at the Mexican
place
restaurant,
across the street. I don't even know what that is.
probably at 6 or
Time.
something like that.
6. Yeah, it's good.
5:30, 6.
5:30-ish would be better, but
Well, it's
5:30.
across the street. We could probably do 6. So
Because
Yeah.
we want to
Well,
start.
we always get there early anyway. Yeah.
Because we want to start on time if we can.
And are you coming, Jack?
last couple of times we've gotten there before nobody from the people from Digital Pro Labs were there.
That's
So
true.
it's,
Yeah. Are you
No.
coming, Jack?
No, I'm not doing print competition. I know how much you love it, but
Why
I'm
aren't
not
you coming?
I'm not spending any money, and I don't need to unless I want something.
You want me
So-
to print your pictures for you, Jack? For
You
free?
know, that's a thought.
I'll do it for you.
No,
I'll
no.
print them for free.
But I'll be there. I'll be there for digital. Yeah. Hey, Joy, thank you again for being here tonight. Appreciate you.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
I
this
hope
was
we get to
great.
see you
It
face to
was
face.
great to see your presentation and just to have the camaraderie of mother photographers.
Yeah. Yeah. I
If
hope
you
we
can
get
join
to
us
see you
again.
face to face.
Yeah.
Oh,
I hope you'll come to the print competition.
Yeah.
hey, yeah. If you want to send the information, I'd love to check it out if I can make it.
Yeah.
I will. If you want to submit to it, you have to join. But if you want to just come, you can just come to as many meetings.
I just kind of see what that's all about.
Right.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, that'd be great. We'd love that.
Thank you. Have a good
All right,
night.
guys.
Mhm.
I'll
Good night,
say good
everyone.
You too. Good night.
Okay.
All right.
Good night,
Have
everybody.
a good one.
Good night, sports fans. And we have a new fearless leader, so Everybody's good to go. I'm out of the loop again. Yay.
Yeah, all right. I'm gonna end the meeting here
All
because
right.
I gotta. I'm
Talk to you
still
later.